and so then nobody could stop me from hiring myself. And it was, think I directed probably like one out of every 5 episodes, and supervising the the production and the post production really raised my game. And it's very funny that I was doing a show. I went to Fox after 5 years on Beaver, and a pilot I was consulting on uh, uh, was being shot, and it sold. And one night during production, the night my father died, actually, I was stuck doing the show. My assistant's husband worked in business affairs at Universal and said, I know this is a bad time, but they're looking for a TV director for Problem Child 2. And I knew that would be the perfect fit because they wanted to shoot it in Orlando, where 3 years before I had opened up and set up protocols for the Universal's Orlando outpost, as we launched the studio by doing the final season of Beaver there. Let's see, it starred John Ritter. I had just done at Fox, where John Ritter had a production deal, 2 pilots with John Ritter's company. One of them was shot, and it was co-starred Amy Yazbek, who was the co-star of Problem Child 2, and then John's girlfriend and now widow. And let's see, Jack Warden. I produced the Bad News Bears series starring Jack Warden and had a wonderful relationship and a tremendous admirer of his work as well. And then there was Michael Oliver. So they had a lot of problems with the kid's family. I don't know what it's about, right? I don't know that. All I know is I'm going to have a great relationship with him because on the final season of Happy Days, 6-7 years earlier, in the final episode of Happy Days, the 2-parter, Fonzie adopts a little boy, and had the show gone to a 12th season, it would have been about Fonzie the father, but it didn't. But anyways, that was a nice ending for Henry. But the kid we cast was Michael Oliver's older brother, and we got along just great with his family. So when I go in with experience doing very low budget television, and basically this was when you took out the above the line, the director, the producers, Imagine Entertainment, who under whose aegis the first one was, they get a slice. It was a $3.5 million movie. That's what it cost to produce it, right? and so I was very comfortable working in that range and at that schedule and scheduling for kids because of my work on New Leave It to Beaver. So everything really did come together, and I was able to convince Robert Simons, then working on his second film. Now he owns a studio, STK Pictures, and produced, I think, 46 films before he even launched that venture. And so, it all worked out really well. And before I was even done with Problem Child in post-production, and Universal was very, very happy with the film. The first one scored, the first one tested at 27, right? The out 27 out of 100, and we were 66, which to me was like my high school average, a D, right? But to these guys, they saw 140% improvement. And the first one made 55 million. So they thought, oh my God, we're home free here. And they didn't have to do 18 days of reshoots right. on ours. There was none.
When I listen to you, you say it so casually, but like these are some of the biggest family franchises. Was that intentional for you, to work on,
Well, that's a very interesting question, actually. Uh, I I found when I got to town that I initially tried to break in with MTM, Mary Tyler Moore Productions, that did the Mary Tyler Moore Show, the Bob Newhart Show, the really smart contemporary comedy. I was a huge fan of the Newhart Show in particular, and and I actually got in a room with them, and we got along great, but they didn't see me with them at MASH. I tried to break in with MASH, and I got a very nice turn down from Larry Gelbart, the creator, and who was part of the writing staff of Your Show of Shows, the Sid Caesar variety show in the 50s. I'll digress for 1 second because Larry Gelbart, a name you probably don't know, is associated with MASH. The funny thing happened on the way to the Forum. Huge Broadway show in the 60s with Zero Mostel. And on the writing staff of the Sid Caesar show was Larry Gelbart, was Woody Allen, was Mel Brooks, that they didn't see me doing their style of comedy. And they're probably in the long run right, that I'm much more comfortable doing the kind of entertainment I grew up with. Warm family stuff laced with the hard comedy that I saw every day with the Looney Tunes and the Three Stooges and the Buster Keaton talkies and stuff. And if you look at everybody from Chicago, the guys in my generation, the successful ones, Robert Zemeckis, John Hughes, and what's his name? Ghostbusters guy.
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis, yes. So everybody has this kind of mixture of warm comedy mixed with hard comedy. I mean, Beethoven, which I directed, and I'm going to see tomorrow at Vidiot's with my family. It was written by John Hughes. He lost the film in his divorce with Universal and it went to Ivan Reitman. But we all of us, and I don't know if they'd even consider me their peer, but I think the style is actually very similar, and I do believe it's this mix that we were fed after school. Remember, you grew up in Chicago, man. In the winter, you stay home, man.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, maybe you go ice skating once in a while, but Jesus, yeah, for us, you're down in the basement every day watching nothing but Leave It to Beaver reruns and Lassie and Fury and Flicka and all these animal shows and this wild comedy tempered with the reruns from all the really soft family shows and the Flintstones and the Dick Van Dyke Show, whose basically key creative team was responsible for Happy Days. So.
Man, you're very humble. Like, you talk about like, them not necessarily considering your peers, but like, I mean, it's like you have over $2 billion in gross revenues. Like, that's pretty amazing accomplishment. The Flintstones, another film like, that you directed the first one and the sequel. Can you talk about like, working with Steven Spielberg because he produced those films?
Um, it was an honor and a privilege, and I idolized him before I ever knew who he was. Um, and my first meeting with him, my first, I had heard they were looking for somebody to do a rewrite on the script. But now, by the time it drifted down to me, of course, the assignment was long gone. But then my agent called the script, but they'd like to meet with you as a director. I said, "You're kidding." And I spent 2 weeks thinking about what I do and how I do it. And I went into a meeting. He was in the during a lunch break on Jurassic Park which they were shooting on the back lot. And he and Kathy Kennedy, his producing partner, and who's just went on to run the Lucas Empire. And I just heard she stepped down, which is great for her and her husband and their family. But anyways, so if you want to hear how I talked for the first 10 minutes of this meeting, was like this, that I was so nervous and embarrassed. And I said, you better pull yourself together. And from there, I did a pretty good job. But I think what clinched the deal, this is how long ago this was. I'm a toy collector, and I had a Flintstone collection of maybe 25, 30 pieces. Nothing unusual, nothing expensive, just run-of-the-mill flea market Flintstone stuff. And I took a Polaroid of it. And when I handed him the Polaroid, all of a sudden I saw a light come on. And he viewed it, I think, as that somebody was interested in this other than as a product, that somebody has a relationship to the characters, that people that they talked to, and they'd offered it. Ivan Reitman said, you know, they offered me the Flintstones. At one point, I think they offered it to Ron Howard, who learned and then went and did the Grinch. But I did. I watched the premiere of the Flintstones. I was, once again, we go back to, the kids programming. 1958, the Huckleberry Hound show premiered in syndication, and it was on at 6 o'clock every night. And the greatest show in town was Huckleberry Hound and his cartoon pals. And that set the stage for the Flintstones, which was, as you recall, Primetime's first animated series, and until The Simpsons came along and crushed every longevity record. The Flintstones did 166 episodes, playing Friday nights on ABC at 8 p.m. And became an institution and a merchandising phenomena. And it really changed the game. And, and yes, and I loved the show. I never got tired of it. I probably had seen every episode, and still I wasn't an expert. Oh my God. When we met with Rosie O'Donnell, now there's somebody who knew the Flintstones, who started, like the song that the B-52s doing a dance sequence, the Twitch. She's the one who said, you got to put the Twitch in. And she started singing it, that it was, from a dance contest in a season 4 episode. But it was a great opportunity to paint on an amazingly huge canvas. And the great thing about the Flintstones truly was that I had Steven Spielberg's crew, Michael Lantieri, who did the physical effects, just won the Oscar for Jurassic Park. Dean Cundy, as director of photography, worked with us, and he had revolutionized visual effects for cinema photography with the Back to the Future films and Jurassic Park. And so these people with a tremendous amount of knowledge, and we enlisted Bill Sandell to be our production designer and oversee the design of over 6,000 props, buildings, sets, costumes, literally the kitchen sink